Women who dated older men as teenagers that now realize they were predators. What's your story? My first boyfriend was 22 years old. I was probably 13-14 something. He was very controlling. The kind that tells me I'm not allowed to say no if he asks anything. He used to ignore me for days and not reply to me. And very often made me send him nudes, and I really hated it. But I wasn't allowed to refuse, or he would go find a girl who would satisfy him, a true woman. And I didn't see anything wrong at the time with this, but at least I didn't have sex with him even though he suggested that. Now I'm 21, and when I look back and think about it, I just feel so much shame and burden. And just asked myself why, and wonder didn't he see that I was a freaking child? And I get filled with sadness. And I feel like that happening in such a young age really contributed to things I have done and hate. All I can take from this is to be careful in the future and make sure it won't happen to my own kids. As a kid, I had a friend who babysat a 30-35-year-old guy's young kids when she was 12-13. He, the dad guy, started to romance her and convinced her they were dating, but people just wouldn't understand. I do remember asking her if she had had sex with him and what it was like. She said it didn't do anything for her, but I do it because he likes it. At the time I thought she was really mature and knew what she wanted in life, and parents would just try and boss her around. She moved after a couple years of being with him, so it fizzled out. She is married with her own kids now and we aren't friends anymore, but as an adult I wish I could go back and explain to us that she was being abused. That it was predatory. Get the guy put in prison. I don't know the guy's name to look up whether he ever got caught. I was 15 and definitely didn't understand a thing about love or danger. I found out that he was married and had a child because he literally disappeared, and I was trying to find out what happened. I'll put my experience in here while I'm at it. I was 14. He was 21 and I thought it was cool that he had a car and could buy alcohol. Luckily I didn't interact with this person for more than a few months. I was 15 with a 21-year-old. He hung around youth group and made all us younger girls feel special with his attention. I was shy and quiet. Didn't stand out much. But obviously wanted the special attention that all the prettier, peppier girls got. He wasn't interested until he found out my mom worked nights and I was home alone. We ended up getting into a pretty heated argument and split when 2 weeks in. I still hadn't let him come over because I was terrified of what my mom would do if she knew I'd had anyone over while she was gone. Comma made all us younger girls feel special with his attention. Male attention is a f-king superpower for girls that age. It's terrible. My mother found older boys to introduce me to when I was 15-16. She would take me to coffee shops or sneak me into bars and charm her way with men in their 20s only to introduce them to me. I would date them. And she would get chores done around the house that she needed. Painted kitchen. Fixed cabinets. Roof work. Stuff like that. I remember my best friend's mom trying to warn me and explain to me why it was wrong of my mother to let her 15-year-old date 25-year-olds. But I just thought I was really cool. It wasn't until one of them found me online and reached out a few years ago that I realized what she'd actually been doing all that time. And of course, none of these guys knew what the FCK they were doing, so the house looked like shitty anyways. I was 11 and he was 23. We didn't date. He had a girlfriend, but he would SXT me and send me nudes. Eventually I realized it was strange and blocked him. Didn't tell anyone about it. I sometimes wonder if it's impacted me more than I would care to admit. He was my guidance counselor. I didn't realize how creepy he was until he proposed. The whole thing was FKed. I'm from a third world country where it is normal for 15-16-year-old girls to date guys in their early to late 20s. Especially in the 90s when chat rooms became available thanks to the internet. At 13-14 years old with my girlfriends we would meet up with 18-19-year-old boys, which now I know it was not a good idea, but I didn't know any better back then. Until I moved to a different country where I learned that there were strict laws in place for adults dating having sex with teenagers. I was too stupid to understand why my mom was so upset when at 14 I had a date and got picked up in a car by a 24-year-old who bought me ice cream at MC Donald's, but luckily he was very nice and took me home after. My first boyfriend, I was barely 15. He was 21. Worked in a local shop and all the girls at my school liked him, so came as a bit of a surprise when the biggest dork ever, me, somehow landed him and not any of the popular girls. We dated for maybe 4 months. Turned out he was sleeping with 3 girls in my year, which I found confusing because I begged him to take my virginity to no avail. Always found that really weird and insulting that he never even wanted to sleep with me. Plot twist. My mum had stormed into the shop when we first started dating and told him, "Asai, if you take my daughter's virginity, I will kill you with my bare hands." Apostrophe. God bless my mum. I was 14 and dated a 25-year-old cop. He never asked my age and I never told. One day we're chatting on phone and I told him that I got some homework to do and I'll call back later. He said freshman year of college, getting to ya, huh? I said, college? I'm in high school. Dead silence. Then he asked how old I was and I said 14. He freaked out and was saying I'm gonna go to jail for this and I'm gonna lose my job. He said I can't see you again and please don't tell anyone. I said yeah, of course. I got why he was scared and I never saw him again and never told. At least he owned up to it. I was 15 and met a 30-year-old who was an older brother of a boy I met in group therapy. He used to tell me how complicated and mature I was. Lol, so cliche registered sign. I'm now 24 and seeing or interacting with anyone who is 15 makes me sick. I felt so old then, but it's insane now how obvious to me that people that age are children. I don't know why. I don't remember watching anything or being around anyone that would influence me to do this. But I used to. At the age of 12-14. Send nude pictures of myself to older men. I would go on chat sites and offer up these pictures of myself. I never met up with any of the people I sent pictures to. And I still, to this day, don't know why I did it. To this day I think about older men taking advantage of me and I don't know why I always go to that place. I don't think I was abused. If I was, I don't remember it. I had sex with a 28-year-old when I was 13 and thought it was perfectly normal. He always complimented me, bought me stuff, and drove me places when I needed a ride. Looking back now, I can't believe I didn't realize how f***ed up that was. To this day he can't find someone to date that's his age. I'm 24 now, from what I heard from rumors. You didn't realize it was f***ed up because you were a child and your brain wasn't developed enough. Which is exactly why children can't consent to sex. I was 16. A school teacher of 30 years used to touch me and text me stuff. I didn't really realize it was bad until some years later when he married a girl from my class. I didn't tell anyone because I was scared that people would think that it was my fault. I was 17 and having a relationship with my 45-year-old teacher whilst I was in school. My dad was dying of terminal cancer and I needed someone to lean on. The police found out. But I didn't want to disclose any details. Watching my dad die was enough trauma, let alone having a full-on police investigation. He is no longer allowed to teach, but never was prosecuted. I tried to go for counseling, but they said they would have to inform the police of whatever I said. So I've been trying to deal with it by myself. He hit me and sent me death threats and I never reported him. Not a woman, but when I was under 18, I think I was 16, I joined a guild on WoW and the guild leader groomed and pressured me into sending him nudes and being naked on webcam. When his GF found out, she told the entire guild that I was a homewrecker. I really thought the guy cared about me. But he joined in and said I was desperate and it was sad that I was so into him. He blocked me and ruined my reputation on that server. He was in the army and I think 28. Pretty sure those pictures got passed around and it is absolutely vile that these 30+ grown adult men were distributing child PRN of me and laughing about it. I blamed myself for the longest time, but telling my story to horrified faces kinda made me realize how f'd up it was. My cousin in GA got with a guy when she was around 13 and he was around 26. She had 3 kids with him. He slept around with anyone who was willing, including his first cousin, her mom, my aunt, and her sister. He took advantage of her and f'd her self-esteem so much that she always takes him back. Her 3 kids now all have kids too. She is raising most of her grandkids. I feel sorry for all of them. Some parts of Georgia are like a third world country. I was 13 and my parents had a friend who was 24 that started hanging around the house a lot. I developed a big crush on him and ended up losing my virginity to him. I thought we were in love and going to get married. My parents found out and I never saw him again. Didn't realize how creepy it was until I had my own kids. As a father, the comments scare the shit out of me. If you leave your wife, stay involved with your kids. It was my mom's new husband that got to me around 8. Once I hit 12 I was having sex with teenagers and guys in their 20s in what I now realize was some stupid attempt at taking back control after years of abuse. This isn't even mentioning my crazy abuse of drugs during that time. And my current use of alcohol. Honestly, I just started reading the Gift of Fear book that gets mentioned around Reddit and it's a tough read. But it really does spell out how abusers groom victims. I do recommend it. I dated an older woman when I was a teen. She was in her mid-20s. I was still a minor. When we broke up, she told me she'd been stopping her friends from coming after me. But now she wasn't going to stop them anymore. She proceeded to make my life hell. And even faked her own death to make me look bad. She stalked me online for a while after that. I don't know if she still is. But I can't deny the possibility. I don't feel safe. Don't know if I ever will. All I can say is that I am floored by how many horrible tales of abuse are in this thread. All the same story each time. My best friend in high school dated a teacher and the school found out somehow. I don't know if she thinks of it like this though. I for sure do. Lol, I was friends with a girl in high school that married a teacher as soon as we graduated. As far as I know, nobody cared. He also left his wife and newborn to be with her. Zero consequences. I had actually turned 20 a few days before. So technically not a teenager. But I married him when I was 22 and he was 38 despite every red flag and every person who begged me not to. Because I was a stupid kid and thought I knew everything. I've been trapped in an abusive marriage ever since. And I'm 39 now. Thing is, I didn't realize it was abusive until about 5 years ago and now I'm well and truly trapped. Please. Young women who date older dudes also listen to people's concerns. They care about you. They're trying to help. And if you need an ear, my inbox and life experience are open to you. I will try to help. I'm 18. He is 31. I was supposed to meet him tomorrow. My country has finished quarantine. I told him I didn't feel comfortable sleeping with him. Or even hooking up in any way. He pressed me on it further. I admitted I was on my period and was uncomfortable. He told me that he didn't want to be around anybody who put up any barriers. He didn't want me to feel comfortable setting boundaries. Blocked his ass real fast. 24-year-old brother of my friend used to come around when I was a 14-year-old babysitter. He would buy alcohol and bring cigarettes and weed and then fill me up on the couch when the kids were in bed. The kids' parents were f'd up enough themselves that they never batted an eyelid. My brother put a stop to it when he found out. He was 21 at the time but he knew the dude from school and told both our parents. Smart move. He got his ass kicked twice over. These stories are friggin' disgusting and make me so angry considering how young these girls were when they were taken advantage of. People are sick. My mom was 17 and my dad was 26 when they got married. They were divorced before I was 2. And it was a bullshit marriage. My dad loved his cocaine and beer. And my mom loved, well, His best friend. I was a lonely, bald 12-year-old who wanted attention. A 40-year-old dad with a son convinced me on the internet to send him nudes. And he sent me photos of him masturbating. He made me feel cared for and listened to. And it makes me ashamed to this day how much I trusted a man I never met. Obligatory not me blah blah. My father is on wife number 5. His first 3 wives were 18 or younger. My mom being wife number 2 was 17. He was 25. I realized as I was approaching 30 how f'd up that was. 16 dated a 23-year-old. He had the mental capacity of a 16-year-old. So I left him when I turned 17 and he was still a man-child. Looking back, he definitely had some mental health stuff going on. Not a woman but was born in a female body, so good enough I guess. Looking back, I had serious parental issues and desperately wanted some kind of guidance, so I looked to the internet. I met a lot of great people in chat rooms who didn't want to prey on a 12-year-old, so I became too comfortable and dropped my guard completely. I had a series of relationships with much older men in their 20s who wanted nudes and testing. I was dying for attention. Being born ugly and all that. So I gave up so much of myself. They would always tell me that it was our secret. That I was beautiful and so mature for my age. And other bullshit like that. I knew it was wrong. I wasn't stupid, but I was lonely. If any young kids are reading these posts, please be safe out there. The people who promise the world in exchange for pictures of your body are monsters that deserve to be locked up and tortured. Get out while you can. I dated a 29-year-old man from ages 17-20. I was still in my senior year in high school. My parents owned a local restaurant. I worked there starting at 16. He was an assistant manager. I never felt pressured or anything like that. I wanted and pursued him. I asked him to take me to my prom. I'm 33 now. I can't imagine someone asking me to a prom at 28. He declined. He did, however, attend my high school graduation. My parents were obviously not thrilled. And my mom spun tall tales about free tuition if I moved out of state with my grandmother. I moved. He met with my parents. Expressed intention to marry me. And followed 6 months after. We lived together for almost 2 years before he cheated on me with someone he worked with, who was more age appropriate. I left and moved back home with my parents. I was devastated. Looking back now, it's all kind of surreal. I don't understand the age difference. And the appeal of it. No as extreme as some of these stories. But I was 15 and he was 19 when we first got involved. We didn't have sex until I was 16. I never was in an actual relationship with him, kind of a FWB-ish thing. I wised up when he tried to pull off the condom without me noticing and never fooled around with him after that. But we remained friends for a while after that. By the time I was a senior in high school, I could confidently look back and say he was lame and there was a reason girls his age weren't interested. But it wasn't until about a year ago, I'm 30 now, that I came to the realization he wasn't just a loser but a creep. My parents found out and threatened to have him arrested if he ever contacted me again. I was 13 years old and he was 21 at the time. At the time I was truly in love with him and tried to initiate contact with him after the fact. He wouldn't talk to me. I was super pissed at my parents at first, but looking back now I am truly glad my parents got me out of that situation. Thankfully we never went further than kissing and slight fingering. Which is absolutely disgusting looking back. But I'm glad I wasn't penetrated. The guy was mentally unstable. Eater. I just realized how f'd up my childhood actually was. Does it count if it's online? If so, when I was 8-9 I dated an 18-year-old. And when I was 10 I dated a 17-year-old. Luckily we never sent any pictures to each other, but it unfortunately led to me lying about my whole life online for 7 years.